pre-Spanish period. The lowland people live in extended kinship groups known as barangays, each under the leadership of a datu or chieftain. The barangay, which ordinarily number no more than a few hundred individuals, was usually the large stable economic and political unit. Alliance. Like community of nation alliance among barangay were formed. The purpose of forming alliance was for trade, peace, and mutual protection. An alliance was sealed through blood compact Sanduguan to ensure conformity, sincerity, and commitment of their chieftain. An alliance is a relationship among people, groups, or states that have joined together for mutual benefit or to achieve some common purpose, whether or not an explicit agreement has been worked out among them. Members of an alliance are called allies. The event known as the Pacto de Sangre or Blood Compact took place in Bohol in 1565 between Sikatuna and Legazpi. This event was later narrativized and became integral to the nationalist emplotment of Filipino history. The Blood Pact served as a founding myth of Filipino nationhood, highlighting the historical encounter between the indigenous Filipinos and the Spanish colonizer. The significance of the Blood Pact in Filipino conceptions of history is evident, although different narratives emerge due to divergent political projects. The Blood Compact Monument. The Legazpi-Sikatuna Blood Compact or Sandugo. The Legazpi-Sikatuna Blood Compact or Sandugo Pacto de Sangre was a blood compact performed in the island of Bohol in the Philippines. Before the Spaniards came to the Philippines, Filipinos lived in villages or barangays ruled by chiefs or datos. The datos comprised the nobility, then came the Maharlikas freemen, followed by the aliping mamamahay and aliping sa gigilid. Throughout the 16th century up to the 18th century, women wore a Hispanicized version of the barot saya, composed of abodis, called a camisa, often made in pineapple fiber or muslin, and a floor-length skirt, while the men wore the Barong Tagalog, a collared and buttoned lace shirt or a suit. Courtship. A courtship is a period in a romantic couple's relationship when they are dating. Most partners go through a courtship where before deciding to get married. Panliligaw, the Tagalog word of courtship, is the most romantic and the sweetest stage of every Filipino's love life. Courtship in general is a period of development towards a sexual relationship wherein a couple get to know each other and decide whether there will be an engagement.
O ilaw sa gabing malamig, wangis mo'y bituin sa langit. O tanglaw sa gabing tahimik, larawan mo neneng, nagbigay pasakit, ay gising.
The Negritos were early settlers, but their appearance in the Philippines has not been reliably dated, and they were followed by speakers of the Malayo-Polynesian languages, a branch of Austronesian languages, who began to arrive in the successive waves beginning about 4000 BCE, displacing the early arrivals. By 1000 BC, the inhabitants of the Philippine archipelago had developed into four distinct kinds of people: tribal group such as the Aitas, Hanuno, Ilongots, and the Mangyan, who depend on hunter-gathering and were concentrated in forests; warrior societies such as the Isneg and Kalingas, who practiced social ranking and ritualized the warfare and roamed the plains; the petty plutocracy of the Ifugao Cordillera Highlanders, who occupied the mountain ranges of Luzon; and the harbor principalities of the estuarine civilization that grew along rivers and seashores, while participating in transland maritime trade.
In the pre-colonial Philippines, religious beliefs included animism, the direct attribution of soul to an object or phenomena, and influences from Hinduism and Buddhism. Most notably, many believed in parallel spirit world, an invisible force that could guide nature and people. This turned over to making Filipinos very conscious of their behavior towards the environment and in people, since it was believed that everything had a spirit or anito. Spiritual leaders or babaylans prioritize this spiritual belief in practice through effective making the very core of the Filipino tribes, which is the unity of oneself and others. Socially, this created a lot of solidarity within the Philippines Islands. However, this quickly turned sour after long centuries of Spanish colonization. After that, the country became one of the most prominent vessels of Catholicism in Asia. As a result, past spiritual practices slowly died down, and the very root of Filipino camaraderie established by our ancestors diminished. This is not to say that Catholicism directly acted as an inhibitor to how Filipino people related to themselves and each other. However, I believe this has inhibited how many perceive the world and interact with diverse identities and beliefs. Growing up as a Catholic,
Good God thing was the unbiased and spontaneous reaction of an American tourist blood in a stereotypical gate shirt. He had just stepped off a massive shelter, the star of the utterly stunning collection of free colonial gold that has ever so quietly opened to the public at the Ayala Museum. I will explain why this comment was a good one and not intended to be blasphemous at all. I was privileged and extremely grateful to have been invited to and give what the tantamount to the finest private tour of the new exhibit. Gold of ancestor pre-colonial treasures of the Philippines. But this was supposed to be any special treatment whatsoever. A casual text invitation, a holiday lunch with friends, no formality in dress. Then we slipped autonomously into the exhibit that had official open to the public just hours before. There were just 3 to 4 other visitors in the gallery at the point. It just so happens that the friends who gave the tour that members of the family that collected of artifacts and who have now permanently placed the pieces in the museum available for the public to view. And while we're there, I was introduced to the curator of the exhibit and one of the authors of upcoming book on the collection.
Ornaments in the pre-Spanish era, Philippines were often crafted from materials like gold, silver, shells, pearls, and precious stones. These ornaments serve both aesthetic and cultural purposes, symbolizing wealth, status, and spirituality. Jewelry such as gold necklace, earrings, and bracelet were worn by elites and served as symbol of prestige. Other ornaments included intricately carved wooden object, carved wooden pottery, textiles adorned with intricate weaving patterns, and accessories like headdresses and anklets. These ornaments showcase the rich artistic traditions and craftsmanship of pre-colonial Filipino societies. Homes in pre-Spanish era Philippines were typically made of natural materials like bamboo, wood, and thatch. They were elevated on stilts to protect against flood and pests. The design varied across regions, but they often feature open layouts for ventilation and communal living space. The architecture reflected the tropical climate and indigenous building techniques, showcasing the ingenuity of Filipinos' ancestors in adapting to their environment. Bahay kubo or nipa huts were the native houses of our indigenous countrymen and were utilized since the pre-Hispanic era. This house design remains the house most identified with Filipinos culture. Bahay kubo was designed to endure the typical tropical climate of the country. The houses were built near rice fields and coconut groves and orchards. The houses sit on posts raised above the ground. The rooms were small and generally with a single multipurpose room, having only the cooking space differentiated among the areas in the houses.
During the earlier period, almost everyone in the society, male or female, knows how to read and write. They have their own method of writing which they use sharp-pointed tools, leaves, bamboo, and trunk skin. They write from top to bottom and read it left to right. Accordingly, they have their alibata, which script is different from China, Japan, and India. This account was told by one of the first Spanish missionaries who came in the Philippines, Father Pedro Chirino. Another account proved after the discovery of a jar in Calatagan, Batangas. This system of writing came from the alphabet of Sumatra.
The first Visayan, Tagalog, Ilocano, and some ethnic groups have their own dialect and form of writing too. They have an alphabet composed of 17 letters, 3 of which are vowels and 14 are consonants. The Muslims have also their own system basing on their dialect. This is called Kirim of Maranao and Jiwi of the Tausug, which they are still using until this day.
Baybayin is one of the writing system that was used among early Filipino before Spanish colonization. The script used to record businesses, transactions, folk tales, poetry, song, and other composition according to the book An Illustrated History of the Philippines.